Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Dig Talk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop, and smart TVs. As we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Dig Talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Imperial Royal Hotel. The ticket comes with a book, all this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9076 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Dig Talk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the forementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away.
Well, it's 5 minutes past 7 a.m. A very, very good morning and a warm welcome to the Mighty Drive show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Yes, today is the 4th of March, 2021. The year is really, really running so fast. As we are speaking right now, we are just nearing to a quarter of the first part of the year. So in this quarter that has just started running, ladies and gentlemen, is there anything that you have done for yourself for your community, for your family, for your country, or for the world at large? That is a question that you have to answer yourself, and it is not me to answer it for you, because at the end of the day, it all starts with you. As I always tell you on the show, if the fire doesn't first burn through you, it cannot be exhumed outside. It always first comes from the inside. It's an idea that comes from the inside, then it comes out through manifestation, through what you do. So it is very vital for whatever you do to make sure that it contributes something big for yourself, for your community, for your people, for your country, and for the world at large. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Mighty Drive Show. It airs every Monday to Friday from exactly 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Before we go further, today we are having a lady from the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. She is the capacity building officer. She's going to be here with us. She's called Babirye Prossy. She's going to be dissecting on some of the role of human rights defenders. How are we celebrating the women and the women human rights defenders in this particular case? And we're going to be dissecting with her, talking about human rights and how we can uphold them and how we can make Uganda a better place for all of us. But before she comes here, allow me just take you through the news that has been making rounds all over Uganda, the world, and social media. As yesterday I told you, there is a lot of war that is ravaging in African settings. There is a war in Chad, there is a war in Ethiopia. It is really, really devastating. So we pray that you may pray for our country, we pray for our continent, and we pray for all of humanity, ladies and gentlemen. Let me dig deep into the stories that made rounds from yesterday. Now, the government and the Ministry of Education has officially said that the day students and the boarding students are going to be studying separately. I don't know if this is really achievable, but that is what they say in order to, curb the numbers of COVID-19 and the spread of this pandemic. So the government has come out with a measure saying that, boarding day school and boarding school students should be studying separately. But I think they should have come out with a better perspective on this. Maybe if they decided that maybe all students should be in boarding or something like that, because it is something that is not really achievable. What if they don't sit together in class? What about break time? What about these lunch times? And what about the times when they go to play and different things like that? That is something that we really need to look at before we make some decisions. Some things need a bit of scrutiny and, a bit of thoughts as we make these decisions. But that is what the Ministry of Education has come out to officially clarify, that these students that have resumed school will be studying in different shifts, and from the boarding and the day students, so they're all going to be different. That is what the government and the Ministry of Education came out to say. And yes, the race for the parliamentary speakership is on. Yeah, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga and her deputy, I beg your pardon, Jacob Olanya. Remember, Jacob Olanya came out officially to really assert that he is going to run for speakership come August 2021. He wants to be the Speaker of the August House. And yes, he says he's quite confident about his victory that is underway anytime soon, but we don't know if it is already an assured victory. But Jacob Olanya says he is ready to challenge the speaker, who has been speaker, by the way, for I think the last 15 years, Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga. Yes, so Jacob Olanya says he's going to come out, and we've seen a lot of members of parliament really being different and having different ideas on these particular things. First of all, let's talk about some of the MPs. There is most of them have shown that they are going to support Jacob, and others are really sticking to Rebecca Kadaga. Let's see how these things are going to unfold. Remember, they are both from the ruling party, and they are both really very big cadres of this particular party, because Jacob Olanya, I think he's the deputy vice president of the NRM in the northern region, and Rebecca Kadaga, of course, is the deputy vice president in the Busoga region. So they're all vice presidents, and they're all really, really very, very, very strong cadres of the national resistance movement. Will they really come out to battle it out? Who will win it? We are still here, and trust me, I'm going to be here at the Mighty Drive giving you these things as they unfold, as Jacob Olanya and Rebecca Kadaga really tussle out for the speakership of the August House come to the 11th Parliament that we have this particular round. Then away from that, by the way, before I leave that note, there are those that have been really wanting to be the deputy speaker of the Ugandan Parliament. We have, I think, Mohamed Nsareko, the MP for Kampala Central. There is Jacob Oboth. Very many, individuals right there are going to vie for that particular post. We'll be waiting and we'll be informing you as the Mighty Drive what will be going on in that particular in those particular transitions and the rest for speakership. Away from that, let's go straight to the Uganda Law Society. It has officially given the government an ultimatum of 2 weeks to produce all missing Ugandans. Remember, the Parliament of Uganda came out to really give directives to the Internal Affairs and the Ministry of Security to really bring out the names and the list of people who are really abducted and who are under, it's called incommunicado, because when you're arrested and you're not yet tried, you're nowhere in any court, there is no case that has been opened against you, that is keeping you under incommunicado. So many people have been kept under incommunicado, and some of the allegations that are coming from there, that many of these particular gentlemen and women have been really tortured brutally and bizarrely. So that is what the Uganda Law Society came out to say through their president, and they said that they have given the government an ultimatum of 2 weeks to produce all the missing Ugandans. If they don't, something radical might be done. You don't know if they can really, if they have a say about this, but yes, I will be giving you all that at just 11 minutes past the 12 of the hour. Allow me to go to our final stories. The journalists officially came out to report and file a case against Lieutenant Colonel Napoleon Namanya. Lieutenant Colonel, the name Napoleon really is a dubbed name. You know, all those guys who are really some of the big cadres and some of the big soldiers have dubbed names or nicknames. So he's called Napoleon Namanya. He's the one who led the campaign of beating journalists, by the way. And I would really say it without any fear or favor, because he was caught on camera as he was really leading a brutal attack on the journalists. And I don't know why you beat us as the fourth estate. For us, our role is to just communicate to the communities, tell them what is happening where they are not, because at the end of the day, that is our sole purpose here. So it doesn't make sense when we are beaten brutally, and it is something that has been subjected to a lot of criticism. So yes, he has a case has been filed against him, but we don't know if the judicial system is really going to give us justice as we deserve. But yes, we have officially made a bid there. And as I end, Lydia Wanyoto goes to court. She's protesting the Mbale MP Connie Galiwango's win. She says it was not really free and fair. So she has gone to court. Let us wait and see how all those things will unfold. And lastly, the national team coach Jonathan McKinstry has been suspended by FIFA. Now, Jonathan McKinstry really played his cards wrong this time round in the CHAN qualifiers after reaching a final tournament and showing that he is not really sure about what he was going against, the odds and everything. He was changing players here and there. You had the Vincent Galiwangos playing this match. The other match, they were not playing. So because of this, I think the FIFA really looked at the money they give him, and they were really unsure of what he can do and what he can really bring to the table. So he has been suspended for a month, not yet evicted indefinitely, but if he is, I think it's high time Uganda really applied a Ugandan to really coach. Mike Mutebi is there doing miracles at KCCA. Why not give him the national team to really know how to run it? Many national team coaches have done it for their countries. In Ghana, I think one of their coaches from 1967 to 1982, he won 3 titles for that particular country, and he was a Ghanaian. So why not give it to Mike Mutebi or anybody? Dennis Bosa is also there. We have a lot of people can really take over the cranes, and I think they can do a great job. And instead of investing all that money given to them, to McKinstry, over for $10,000, that is over 40 over 37 million. That is a lot of money. Why not invest it in Mike Mutebi or in Uganda, any other Ugandan, so that even the money and the investments stay right here? Now let's go for a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be with Miss Babirye Prossy. She's the Capacity Building Officer at the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Let's go for a short commercial break. Good morning.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the forementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26th, 2021, 2 p.m. at Imperial Royal Hotel. The ticket comes with a book, all this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digitalk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Bwetubanga tukyaziza omukyala abamu kuffe tuddamu amaanyi nnyo nyonyirira kuba tubaako n'ebyokuyiga bingi nnyo. Bw'olaba omukyala nga ayogera gy'oli ng'ebigambo by'ayogera bikuzaamu maanyi ate nga bikuzimba, tulema kuba nti munnange owulira essanyu ery'enjawulo. So n'olwaliro tulina mukyala Prossy Babirye era ng'ono Capacity Building Officer, National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. Yali mu studio z'olunaku olwaleero tugenda kuba twogera ku nsonga nnyingi nnyo ez'abakyala, abaana ab'obuwala. Kwata peni n'olupapula obiko ne wewandiika kubanga olunaku lw'olwaleero lunaku lwakuyiga, lunaku lwakuna. Yes, ennaku z'Obwezirinya mwezi gwa kusatu mwaka 2021. Omwami Edgar Mathew Karuhanga yasoseewo nga tuwa amawulire ago agabadde gwe gy'otabadde oba agabadde mu ebyo by'otasobodde kubeera nga ate owulira. Tugenda ddala mu maaso paka ssaawa 3 ez'okumakya era nga tuli naye still Edgar Mathew Karuhanga mpaka nga tugenda okuba nga twogerezeganya n'omugenyi waffe mu discussion eno erimu okuyiga okw'amaanyi. Tukyagenda ddala mu maaso, tuli ku Facebook The Alternative Uganda, ky'obooteka mu search engine yo ojja kuba nga otufuna bulungi nnyo, likinga page yaffe ate era otufollowinge era tubeere nga tutambula ddala bulungi nnyo nnyini ddala. Naawe alina ekibuuzo agenda mu comment section, teekayo ekibuuzo kyo kyoyagala okubeera nga obuuza, tugenda kuba nga tukibuuza omugenyi waffe mu dakiika ezisembayo nga tunatera okuwuzika show yaffe ey'olunaku luno olwaleero. Temwerabira abamikwano akatabo kagenda kuba kalunkingibwa omwezi guno gwennyini ogwokusatu nga 26 ku Imperial Hotel. So wekwate tiketi yo ng'obudde bukyali oleme kubeera nga ate osubwa. Era naawe omulwanirizi w'eddembe ly'obuntu nga otisibwa obanga okijanyizibwa obanga otambula weeralikirira ogamba nti oba otambulira mu kutya nga weeralikira ogamba nti oba munaye banakutuusaako obulabe. Mukwano aba National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda bwe bali nnyo okubeera nga bakuyamba era nga offices zaabwe ziri Ntinda Semawata Road oba si kyo bakubire ku namba y'essimu etali yakusasulira eri 0800 100-250 0800-100-250 yenna bajosobola okubeera nga te oyitako okubanga obafuna bulungi nnyo kujjukiza nti si yakusasulira. Edgar Mathew Karuhanga katwanjulire omugenyi waffe n'oluvannyuma tugende maaso. Mighty Drive
nga sinaba kumwanjula. Lilian wasuze otya nnyabo?
bulungi wasuze otya se
ogambye otubeera n'omukyala kinyuma nnyo
bw'aba mukyala nokukisosowaza nti
abaami
bw'aba mwami naawe ososowaza ekikyo nange leka nsosowaza ekyange.
abakyala bano mwagala tubasosowaze namwe mwesosowaze naye nga it's okay by the way being raised by a single mother mbakitegeera. Tutandikidde ku a light note mwengawe twabagambye tulina omukyala Babirye Prossy. She's the capacity building officer. Agenda tubulira bino ebintu bitegeeza ki ebya capacity building officer atubulire omanyi human rights ez'abakyala ez'aba women human rights defenders n'ebyo byonna agenda kuba bitunyonyera mutumenye concepts zino ez'enjawulo zonna. Tugenda kuba nga twogera olulimi olunyanyumbe luno olwaffe Oluganda ne tuteekamu ne luli Olungereza naye ffe twogera Luzungu tetwogera Lungereza by the way. Olungereza lwabali bennyini. Babirye, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tukwaniriza wano show Mighty Drive yaffe
nange okubasinkana Edgar Lilian abalala sibategedde naye nange nimusanyufu okubeera wano olwaleero. Nakitegedde ndowooza temwebaka kubanga okubeera nti muli wano saawa zino nabadde nkirowoozaamu ne ngamba okay banaabeerawo batya saawa zino naye neewuunyisa okubeera nti muli wano kinsanyudde nnyo because young as you are mukitaddemu feeling in that you can be here this time. So I'm very happy to see all of you and to interact on different issues. Of course, okuyiga tekukoma. So as you learn from me, I'll also be learning from you so many things. Kubanga Uganda yaffe ffenna ate era n'ebintu byonna byonna ebitu affectinga they affect all of us.
Kirungi nnyo. Babirye tukatandikirawo wennyini. Who is Babirye Prossy? Omuntu omulabi waffe alaba Mighty Drive ayagala kumanya omukyala leero amuli maaso yaani?
My name is Prossy Babirye. I am a human rights defender. Okay, sookera ddala. I am a woman human rights defender. Ekyokubiri, I am a mother. Ekyokusatu, I am a wife. Ekyokuna, I am an employee. Ekyokutaano, I am a pastor. Nekyomukaaga.
Pastor in the house.
Nekyomukaaga kiri nti yeah, I do my own personal things. So even as I share today, I'll be sharing with you from that other perspective. It being that I'm a round person, because they've been to be engineer. So I'll be sharing with you out of my own experience as a woman, but also from my experience as a mother, my experience as a human rights defender, and my experience meeting different people at different categories. Right now I work as a capacity building officer at the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders in Uganda. We shall be talking much more about the human rights defenders, Uganda, what we do, who we are, what makes us be. Yes, I'm happy sharing with you my experience today.
Okay, Prossy, how do you really balance all these things? Your wife, your mother, your pastor, you are a human rights defender, you are a lot of things. How do you really, how do you balance all these things?
One thing I have to say is that, of course, as a person, you have to set priorities in life. And at the same time, you have to know what you want to be. But thirdly, you have to know where you want to go. I think that really, really shaped my being as a person. Eksookera ddala nemanya nti nze Babirye Prossy. Nembeera n'ebyo ebintu ebindefininga for who I am.
Yes.
Knowing very well nti ndi mukyala, but I am a mother, I am an employee. Of course, those are fighting priorities. Byonna byonna biba binoonya kyetaaga time yo, buli kimu kyetaaga attention yo, kubanga at the same time ojja kwesanga omwami waka yeetaaga attention, but at the same time abaana waka beetaaga attention yo, ojja kwesanga the coalition you have to give it your time. Kubanga kata tomorrow I think I reached home late, but in the morning I had to leave. So my children woke up in the morning. So ngabanga mami good morning, and eventually they sat on my bed. So they needed time, but at the same time I'm running. So actually mbangami musonyi when I'm coming back early today tuja kutula tubyogereko. So it's about you prioritizing what is crucial, and then the other thing choinokola is for you to allocate time when and to maximize. So long as, because when I'm with my children, I make sure I maximize time with them. We have time together to talk about issues. How was school? How was home? What happened to you? Maybe yakozechi. Like you draw them to closer so that and you're utilizing that time. You make them your friends and you're talking about those other issues. But at the same time, being at office changes there. If I'm there now, like from 9 maybe to about 4. At the same time, I have to give it my all. Because in most cases, the is that for you to transfer problems from your workplace and then you're taking them home. Because so many people like women taking their laptops at home. For me, I no longer do it. I used to read sometime, but I no longer do it. I purpose.
When it's home, it's home.
When it's home, yeah, when it's home, it's home. So I'm concentrating on affairs of my home. I'm giving my children, I'm giving my husband, I'm giving all in my all to that home. Then when it's work, then I'm at work working, attending to human rights defenders and all that without any trouble. So it's about prioritizing, but at the same time, it's planning and you knowing what makes you, but what you want to be. Yeah.
Well, really, that is something that is so challenging because we have seen many people who work, many women, they end up forgetting most of the time about their families and things like that. So it's really a lesson from Babirye that she has given us. We really need to balance these things. Prioritization is a must. Let's dive into the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. Talk about this organization. What do you guys do before we dig into the women human rights defenders? First, talk about the National Coalition.
First of all, I'm happy to belong to the mighty family called the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda. The National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda came into existence in 2013. And why did it come into play? It's because before 2013, it's like different actors were doing different things altogether. First of all, we had so many human rights defending organizations. We had like Chapter 4, I think you've heard about Chapter 4, you've heard about FHRI, you've heard about Uganda Law Society, you've heard about organizations like Human Rights Defender, I think you've heard about Defend Defenders, you've had organizations like Defenders Protection Initiative. So it's like all of them were driving to the same purpose, same mandate. Protection of human rights and human rights defenders at a certain point. But then you realize that different people doing different things and no one comes to coordinate their efforts. And you know, so long as you're scattered somehow, somewhere, you can't bite hard. You can never bite hard. But you realize that there is things move and you are able to move. So before 2013, it's like different organizations, bully organization, legal their own things. So in 2013, I think you remember the issue of the Black Monday. We were get about the taxes and all that. So during that time, but we are doing the same thing. We are all into human rights things. Why don't we come up with a coordinating entity, a Tugata, so that then we move our agenda straight away? Of course, you'll find that different organizations are autonomous. They're independent. They have their own donors, they have their own clientele, they have different way of doing things. But then there was need of bringing all of us together so that we move our agenda, that is into human rights issues. So in 2013, about nine entities, inclusive of Uganda Law Society, inclusive of Human Rights Center, inclusive of Defend Defenders, inclusive of Defenders Protection Initiatives, among others, come together and then they discuss about a coordinating entity. And then from there, that is how the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda comes into play by about 9 founding members. So they sit and then they discuss about the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, and then they discuss about what should be our mandate. They discuss about our objectives and how to move things. So the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda comes into play. So our mandate and our major mandate is protection. Protection, first of all, of human rights defenders. And if we talk about a human rights defender, that's a person, an individual, organization that does protect or promote the work, the rights of other people, but in a non-violent manner. In a non-violent manner. I think that differentiates us. Yes, it differentiates us. Because for us, everything that we do, of course at times they say they're activists, they are politicians, but for us we do everything that you do as a human rights defender, you have to do it in a non-violent manner. Of course, there are in most of the trainings that I've conducted. Yes, of course, over time, in the trainings that I've conducted, they have already say, but there is a thin line. Yes. There is a thin line between violence and non-violence. But I mean, whatever thing that you do, you should do it in a non-violent manner. So the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, Uganda, our mandate is protection and promotion of the work of human rights defenders. Human rights defenders. You just know somebody, so long as somebody is doing something in promotion of rights of other people. So maybe the other difference is that for us, we are not at the front line. You will not see us into food, into rights of food and whichever, agriculture, because at the same time we know there are people doing that work. You've seen journalists. Now those are human rights defenders. They are doing something to defend and promote the rights of other people. So our role as a national coalition is to defend them. And under the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, we do so many things. I've heard you, Lilian, talk about our offices. I realized even the numbers, it's like you just mentioned them offhand. Yeah. So our office is in Ntinda at Semawata Road, as Lilian has already indicated. And at the coalition, we do 3 programs. First of all, we do capacity building. Under the capacity building, literally is that we are there to equip human rights defenders with the requisite skills, especially in terms of, first of all, as we do work, we normally tell people, the human rights defenders I interact with, I normally tell them that our work is inherently risky. Yeah. It's risky. Because then even as you go out there, you're meeting powerful forces. You look at the journalists, as they move out there, you're talking about basically issues that affect the common man. Yes. But then those issues, it might not go well with the powerful people in the community. Yes. For instance, you go out there and you're talking about Bugoma forest and deforestation around there. Yes. But who are working against the Bugoma forest? Of course, those are politicians, those are powerful people, the big shots. Yes. And then for you, coming in as Edgar, and then you're saying, you should not what? Erase Bugoma. You should not cut down the Bugoma forest. So now the question is, who are you? Who are you to say that you should not cut Bugoma forest? You're getting that. So you'll find eventually you're tackling where it pains. And then automatically these people will come against you. You'll face risks, you'll face threats and all that. So our work that we do as human rights defenders is inherent risk. You can't separate risk from the work that we do. So under the capacity building department, what we normally do is that we equip human rights defenders with skills, first of all, to detect what are those other risks. Even as you go out there, you're holding a radio talk show. In the morning you're driving and you're doing the mighty show, alternative digital talk show. You're getting, but probably there is somebody you're hurting out there. Why? And they normally call it. They normally now Uganda they call it inciting violence, inciting violence. So they'll say you're inciting violence, but at the same time you're doing a pertinent, you're moving a pertinent issue, but then they will say you're inciting violence and something like that. So what we do under capacity building is that then we are training human rights defenders, first of all, to detect. You detect risk. But at the same time, we are training you how do you mitigate that risk. So that then you are able to work, but in a safe and secure working manner. Because normally I tell human rights defenders that a human rights defender who is alive is better than the one who is dead. Because in the grave, I don't think you'll be able to. I don't think you'll be able to do. You'll fight for anybody's rights. You'll be dead. So in whichever thing that you do, we want you to do it when you're alive, but in a safe and secure working manner. So we do, of course, we train human rights defenders in different areas. We can train them in safety and security management. How do you ensure that you're safe? Maybe digitally you're safe. What are those things you should put in place, like passwords? then you're training them physically. For instance, if you're seeing somebody trailing you, you see that car maybe at your gate, it has not always been there. Let me say, in most cases you've seen kidnaps and you've seen murders being done, but with the aid of the border guys. So you're like, but you've already seen that border, you don't normally see that border person at your gate. But lately, it's like you keep on seeing that border person parked there. Probably it's not a common thing. Probably it's there for a mission. And before you know it, if at all you're not so keen and careful, you'll be gone. Or if not so, it will be your children to be kidnapped, something like that. But at the same time, probably you're seeing a mad person at your gate who has not been there for some time. But then you wake up this morning and then you're finding a mad person at your gate. In most cases, there is a way they disguise. So for you assume that indeed it's a mad person, but probably they are there to investigate your movements, and before you know it, something bad happens to you. So under capacity building, we're equipping them with safety and security management skills. And because the national coalition has got a national character, we've moved almost to different places in this country. I think I've been almost everywhere. I normally tell people that there is no place where I have not been in Uganda.
Wow.
Conducting different. I should write a book because I've been almost everywhere. I think last year alone, I went to the west, I went to the north, I went to Acholi, I went to Lango, I went to Bugisu. So almost, but meeting human rights defenders and equipping them with what? With skills. Because that is my core, the coalition, equipping skills. But also, of course, looking at the context, because you've seen how the government is using the law to attack human rights defenders. They will talk about money laundering. I think you saw recently the case of Opio, and then they are using that. Then they are talking about money laundering. They are talking about anti-terrorism issues. So looking at the context, then you're moving out to tell human rights defenders about issues of legal compliance. Yes, because eventually okutekawo ebintu ebiziyiza the attack. So we go into different sessions teaching them about legal compliance and all that. But also away from human rights defenders, even other state actors, about police. Last year we had a training because mujukira koma the public order management and the way it was affecting us as human rights defenders, how it was affecting us in terms of coming together, congregating, public gatherings and all that. So last year we realized that is an issue. They are using it. So we had now to hold trainings for police officers, especially in terms of public order management. What does it mean? Ogenda nyengo kunyengo, you internalize, what does it say? Because then we know that maybe in case they are equipped with skills, probably the attacks zija. But then maybe the other thing I should talk about the coalition is about advocacy and networking. Advocacy, we are there to create visibility about issues as it were affecting. You amplify the voice. Bolaba Katinao recently, I will still give you the issue of Nicholas. There was a Malabanga, about different people talking about the case of Nicholas. Yeah, so under advocacy, you're there to amplify the voice about the violations that's happening. Why is it happening? What is it really about? So you keep talking about those issues. To make noise, so that our issues are really known. But even then, away from that, also protection and emergency support. We call it protection and emergency support. Under there, in most cases, we call them human rights defenders at risk. You're a journalist. Last time, you are the journalist battered. So in most cases, we have at risk. At times they are traumatized. At times they are battered. So you find that olusi galubindi ze bazimenye, olusi the cameras ze bazimenye. So as part of our work as human rights defenders coalition, our role is to offer emergency support. Journalist oyo bamukubi yetaaga ki legal support. So you're there to make sure afuna lawyer. Then yetaaga medical care. You're there to link that human rights defender for medical support. But it's traumatizing. The work we do is traumatizing. So at times bakutadde mukomera bakozeseza all that. It's so traumatizing. Sometimes we are there to make sure they see psychologists. Of course, mu Africa ekyo tulabanga kyakwejalabya. We normally say abebutabika gye bali ebibabutabuka. Nanga nokulabanga nawe weyogeza weka because tobitegeera. So we are there to offer psychosocial support so that then essentially they should be able to do their work to come back bakole emirimu gye bateekeddwa okukola ki okukola.
Bwetutunuulira abantu bano bemu training ab'enjawulo, do you do evaluations after okulaba oba mwaba training ababisa mu kukola?
Yeah, now at the coalition we have we call it monitoring and evaluation department. Essentially, that department was instituted to make sure they do, like, I would call it maybe audit kind of. So when Malok training, they should go back. And that's what they have always done. They go back with what to training Lilian, then they should be able to track but again, okay, Lilian, no, before the training, yeah, she was like this. Because now the training, in most cases after the training, we tell human rights defenders, come up with a security plan. Security plan, these are my risks, these are my threats, against those risks, what are my capacities, but at the same time, in case but in case what should we be doing? Who should communicate and to who? So we normally tell them, come up with security plans. So in most cases, our M&E department is there to evaluate, to monitor the progress from one level to another. Before the training, it was this, and then after the training, this is it. So that then Chitu Yamba to come up with strategies as making sure that our work has impact. Yeah.
Okay, abantu abamu complaining. Timukola conferences, offices, nenga temutuka mu field, temutuka ku ground.
Yeah.
How true is this?
I can't say. Of course now, is it to the coalition or to the rest of the people? To the coalition. I don't think they are right. And they are not right. I can't say even the truth is that they are wrong. Because then, even as I was telling you earlier on, first of all, we do those other trainings. But even before trainings, there is something we do, we call risk assessment. Risk assessment is like in Nzijam office here, like I can come to your office or the digital talk, the alternative media. Then to know leader, like the way you do your things. I'm trying to evaluate your risks. Why? What are those other gaps, security gaps? Omuntu gasobola okukolera okuyitamu emiwaatwa yasobola okuyitamu n'abaataakinga. So I will come to your office and then I look at your system, I look at your lighting system, I would look at your digital security, what are those other measures that you put in place, but I will also look at the work, how you're doing it. Then I will say, okay, there is a gap here, you try to close this gap, you try to close this gap. So if they say that we are not at ground, I don't think they are right. Because last year alone, I went and during risk assessments, it's like you're moving organization by organization. Because last year alone, I went up to Chigezi, Kanungu Yomubialo, and you're identifying these organizations because this is a membership organization. And you can't deal with members that you do not know very well, especially in this era. Hey, Lilian is my friend, maybe Edgar is my friend, but exactly what is Edgar? What do they do? So in most cases, we go under for the risk assessments, we are down in the field, organization by organization. So I would say, okay, I'm going to Gisu sub-region. Like this year, January, I was in Teso. I did a risk assessment, but organization by organization. So I will be able to know, okay, this is this organization. This is what they do exactly. Are they registered? They are not registered. What are they up to? But of course some, you'll find that some are not even there. They are briefcase companies. They are not their organizations. So you're able to know, okay, if this one says is our member, they are not there. So that's why, yes, that's why I'll be able to say, in Chigezi there is organization ABCD. And then in Alua, the organization ABC. Western region, there is organization ABC. So they can't tell you that for us we are office-based. Actually, as one of our strategies, what we've been looking up to is for us, because initially, even if this is like a national organization, we realized that most of the activities done by organization, by national entities, is basically like Kampala-based. So our boss normally says we have to go grassroots. That's what he normally says.
Are you only Kampala based?
No, we are not Kampala based. Actually, right now we've diversified in such a manner that we've decided to go grassroots. Okay. Because you find that in Kampala here, people get services. You realize that they get services. Yeah, they can if they needed a lawyer, they'll be able to get a lawyer. Yeah, if they needed medical attention, yeah, they can easily tap into the medical world. But how about a human rights defender, that are the poor woman down at the grassroots? They are battered, They are threatened and no one is there to answer. So we've decided as a coalition to go grassroots. So you'll find that most of our interventions, they are into Alua, they are into West Nile. Actually, I'm supposed to do a risk assessment, but in West Nile, you go down West Nile, you go to Teso, you go to Karamoja, because most of the organizations, apart from them may be getting money, they are not down. So if somebody said that the coalition is Kampala based, I don't think they are right. Well, our headquarters is in Kampala, but most of our work is at the grassroots level, and that is our strategy.
Are you still from the country there when you go to do these risk assessments?
Risk assessments.
Yes.
First of all, yolingo ogamba nti omuganga teyeganga. No, but for our case, omuganga yeganga. Even before you go in there, now olina okusooka okwekolako risk assessment. Notunulira kati hotel jengendo okusulamu. Elieta. Security yayo. Elieta. So you don't just go. But at the same time, of course, away in context. Waliwo okulabira ddala nti maybe in northern kati obuzibu buzze bwe nogamba kangendeyo. No, so you also do risk assessment and you're reading in between the line what is really happening here. Because last time during elections, I was in Teso. So that is the time when they were announcing like presidential results. Yeah, our parliamentary results. And then somehow, somewhere, they were announcing some other woman, like preliminary results. And then they announced somebody, a little same. Abantu nga baba, according to them, and they know your is same. So what happens afterwards is that we drive, and as we are driving, we find a roadblock. Angry guys putting on red. So bagamba bebano bana ba government banansize ye betubadde tunoonya bagize ekiba balangiridde somebody go tutayagadde go tutaloza ideally. So they come with stones and then they surround our car. So I'm like, okay. So the driver is like, so what do we do? So but of course ekyatuyamba we had put like a sticker ku motoka. So they go behind and then they read. Then they bagamba bano batulwanirira bano balwanirizi baddembe bano tubaleke. And then somehow they are like naye kati muve wano mukoleki mugende. So now of course we couldn't continue the other side. Babasaside babagambye mwe muli balwanirizi baddembe tubayambye kati mwe mukoleki. So kati gwe oba oyagala entalo jagamba ate tuli balwanirizi baddembe katukoleki. So yeah, so you somehow withdraw because of the context, not take account because of Limurani's Wadembe. Of course, the other problem we've seen with human rights defenders is that by virtue of being a human rights defender, but at the same time, a human rights defender, a single mofo, because I'm a gombe literally yeah. So those are skills as we train other people with the skills automatically enough to kolachi. Yeah. So go office here for kusanga different security measures, because at the same time we know as perpetrators attack human rights defenders, they can also come at the coalition and attack us. Yeah.
And looking at the trainings you do, Mukola reports at the end of the trainings.
Yeah, we do reports.
Are these reports practical? Are they even accessible?
How can
someone access the reports?
The reports. First of all, we have soft copies of the reports. These are public assets and there is nothing that we should hide. Of course, there are some issues whereby you need to seek consent, especially if you're writing about a scenario, about maybe something. So Wobango Wulidanga, maybe because recently, I'll still give you a scenario. Recently I was dealing with a human rights defender who is in West Nile, not West Nile, but Teso. Then yena ngamba, mumpo buyambi, but sagala, bantu bakolechi, bamanye, because of number reasons kubanga the people attacking him, these are powerful people. Yes. Nagamba, these are powerful people, so immediately you mention my name, then they will come. They will come for me. Baja kunonya. So somehow for that person, we know kulaba engeri yemukodinga, so that his name does not what? Come out. But otherwise for the reports are there. We have soft copies of reports. We have hard copies at our offices. And above all, in most cases, we compile them into annual reports. And annual reports are printed out. We have copies, so in case you're interested in a copy, you can have. But then the other strategy that we've been thinking about is now beginning to take our reports as a some, of course, some already there. Yeah? But then even these are the activity reports, getting small series out of them, and then you put them on what? on the whatever on our website. I was having a meeting recently with my boss, and then she was like, okay, how about maybe trying to condense the bigger reports of risk assessments, because then they bring out actual issues on ground. What is this organization X? What is the contextual analysis of region X away from region A, because there are different issues altogether. If you went to Western Island and you compared it to Rwenzori, they are all in Uganda but with different issues. So now what we are trying to do is maybe try to condense them into small booklets, readable, and then onto our what? Website. That is work in progress. But they are accessible, so in case you're interested, Lilian copy. I'll give you copies of what we've done so far. Even our new reports are there. We have publications, yeah.
So how do these semi-educated people access you? In case like on reading the demo reports
reading reports that this what fulumiza. I would say, sincerely speaking, that most of the human rights defenders we've dealt with currently. We've dealt with. Of course, I'm a new Jehovah. They are human rights defenders. Abakazinga baliyo mukyalo. They are there, and even she does not know that she's even a human rights defender. And that is one of the challenges that tufunya at the coalition. It's like the human rights defending concept is a new concept in Uganda. It's new. In that we've even there was sometime the other year we carried out a baseline survey on perceptions, the attitudes that people have on the human rights defending concept. But I'm telling you, of course, babaita manyaga ganjawulo. Even other people, they do not know.
And when it comes to women, ne babaita banalukalala, ne babaita abatuju. So it's like the concept is a new concept. And actually what we've been doing at the coalition is to try as much as possible to sensitize people, to popularize the concept of human rights defending work. Because then human rights defending, about human rights defender is as simple as going to let me say, to Nakasero market. And you've seen those other dues they levy on those people. Maybe even abatembeyi. Olina gamba, imagine you're selling Orbit. Olina gamba nsasula chi? Sasula omusolo. And the way unya kati ku Orbit. Atego kusasula kumacha emisana n'ekiro. So but then human rights defending concept, it's as simple about human rights defender. It's as simple as you going and seeing Mutembe Yomulala who has tried and is speaking for the affairs or the rights of other Batembes. We've seen those other banabagundi banabatax. Only navayo na agamba ne batekawo the aka group. And then the other one comes up and says, no, emsoro jemutu jako. It's as simple as that. And in his own view, he's a human rights defender. So long as he's doing it in a peaceful what? In a peaceful manner. He's a human rights defender. But the issue is that they will never know that they are human rights what? Defenders. They are human rights defenders, literally. So you help them identify themselves. So now what we are doing at the coalition is to try as much as possible to bring the concept of human rights defending closer to the what? To the people. Otegerenti, you know, even that other woman in the village, Avayona Yogeda, about issues of domestic violence, is a human rights defender. Okay. Even Omutembeyo Avudeyona Yogeda Kubintu Biarane is a human rights defender. Because it's promoting the rights of other what? Of other people. Is a human rights defender. So what now, going back to your question, Lilian, the issue is that right now we are just trying to make the public aware that there is a human rights defender somewhere. So now you've talked about Atebaliba reports and what? Yes. But looking at the existence of the National Coalition, you'd see abantu abasinga betulirinze nabo as human rights defenders. Those are people at least abasoma and even abamanyi okusoma and that's why ojja kugenda maybe mu community boyogera ku tewaliyo muntu oyo ayogera ku bintu bya dembe ly'abantu, they can easily identify it Lilian, because ate omuntu oyo asoma, for them they will be at the public sphere, they are there and then they are talking about, so they can easily identify them. So right now looking at it from that side, and for them you can easily identify them. But we are tasking now because I've told you that as part of our strategy we've decided to go grassroots.
So that right now we are now like working with these ones to make sure that then we are reaching out to what? We are reaching out also to and then to emphasize that point, you'll find that Chetusazewo Katiokola, actually we've been deliberating and thinking of coming up with ICT materials. I don't know whether you followed, but recently the same advert that you've been emphasizing. Tutandise katiokubaira the messages, but in different languages. Okay. Recently they gave me one for Lusoga to try to look through.
You only use English
no,
other languages?
Yeah, the other languages, because then we are trying to cater for even Bobo sent you not Luzungu. So now we came up with messages in Lusoga, in Uganda, so that then you are able to reach out to even that woman in Lusoga mchalo. Atamanyi, but then nayaja kutegera nti okay, etegeza message yetusa I am a human rights defender, and then there is an organization. So we are trying to come up with ICT materials to make sure, but also other media, using other media platforms to make sure that we reach the common yeah. So slowly by slowly tuli mu lugendo, and we know very well tujja kubeera yo.
Okay. Kyagenda maaso. Eddakiika ziri 5 ezibulayo eddakiika kati ziri 4 ezibulayo kuba nti ssaawa 2 ez'amakya g'olwaleero zikoona tugenda kuba nga tuwummulamuko katono nnyo. Naye bwe tuba tukomyewo tugenda kugenda ddala mu nsonga z'abakyala abalwanirizi b'eddembe ly'obuntu. Wali tubadde mu general nga tuba generalize bonna abaami n'abakyala, naye kati tugenda kudiginga deep mu nsonga z'abakyala abalwanirizi b'eddembe ly'obuntu. Amannya nze Omumbenjja Luwedde Lilian, Edgar, Mathew, Karuhanga awamu n'omukyala Babirye Prossy. Tukyagenda ddala mu maaso katukomye mu ssaawa yaffe ey'okubiri temuvaawo.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Imperial Real Hotel. The ticket comes with a book, all this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digital in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you held a peaceful demonstration by holding a placard or won a shot communicating about injustices? Is it a speech about rights? Are they for women, children, youths, people with disabilities, elderly, environmental or lands? Do you know you're a human rights defender? Are you threatened, harassed, intimidated, illegally arrested, detained, tortured or imprisoned as a result of defending rights? If you have experienced any of the forementioned, please reach out to National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda for assistance on their toll-free number 0800 100 250 or visit their offices located in Ntinda, Kampala, Semawata Road. Defending rights is constitutional. Please don't shy away.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Dig Talk. with our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 oyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the alternative digital etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugende mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative TikTok.
The Alternative TikTok. Real issues, real talk.
Dakiika 2 ze zaakayita ku ssaawa 2 tukyalina omukyala Babirye Prossy n'abagambye naye capacity building officer owa National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. Era tukyalina nga tukyayogera ku bintu ebikwatagana ku ddembe ly'obuntu n'engeri gye babadde balirwaniriramu na buli kimu naye nga tutunaba kwogera naye kansooke mbajjukizeeko nti ennaku z'omwezi 26 omwezi guno wetwogera tuwala bubazi nnaku tugenda kuba tulonkinga akatabo ka retired justice George Wilson Kanyehamba kagenda kubeerawo ku Imperial Royal. Tickets za mitwalo 2 okuggyako akatabo n'ekyonaalya nga oli ku book launch. Tulina abantu bangi abagenda okubeerawo omwami PL Olumumba okuva Kenya ye chief speaker, guest speaker agenda kubeerawo, then chief guest ye Jacob Olanya namubagambye kayagala okubeera speaker w'eggwanga lino naye nga right now ye deputy speaker. Tulina Dr. Lina Zedriga, tulina Amama Mbabazi, tulina abantu bangi ba panelists bagenda kubeera Yerwambi Harry Wilstock last because tickets zo zigenda kubba omanyi tuli mu covid time kati ticket tuzitunda mangu, it's a pre-order, so first come first serve. Don't forget on the 26th of March this particular month 2021 we're going to be at Imperial Royal launching the book of retired Justice George Wilson Kanyehamba. I'm still Edgar Mathew Karuhanga and nkyalina omukyala Lilian Omumbenjja Lilian, nkyalina omulala omukyala bamuyita Babirye Prossy. Tukyayogera ku bintu ebikwatagana ku ddembe ly'obuntu. Lilian, thank you for keeping it the Mighty Drive. Thank you for coming through again.
You're welcome.
Ndoza katika tuyingire ku
You called her Lilian.
So really, actually, I'm having two ladies.
Yeah, so
Sometimes I'm interchanging names. That was a slip of my tongue. Miss Babirye Prossy. Together twogere ko ku women human rights defenders.
Yeah.
Who is a woman human rights defender? Before we dig into the background name, who is that woman human rights defender?
just as the word is,
Okay.
you called it woman. So a woman human rights defender is that self-identified woman who comes up to promote and to talk about rights of other people, basically. So he's a human rights defender promoting and protecting the rights of other people in a non-violent manner, but he's a woman, literally as simple as that. So ngono mukazi wavaayo n'atandika okwogera ku ddembe ly'abalala ngagezaako okwogera nga no, bayinza not necessarily nti women human rights defenders talk about only affairs of women. No, oli ayinza okuba nga he's talking about rights to do with disability persons, but he's a woman. Then osanga oli is into the education sector promoting rights around education, rights around agriculture, but then she's a woman. But so long as they're into different human rights arenas, different promoting different types of human rights, but they are women. So long as you're a woman, but then you're promoting and then you're tackling issues of human rights in a non-violent manner, then you're a human rights defender. So Lilian, are you a human rights defender?
Yes, I am.
We are still traversing from Namamve right here from Mukono na Eva Nange. Vinya vya Namamve Mukono road bino byamanyi abachikwata ko tuyambe banaye mutukole no namwendo za mubira batu shakinga naye oluguudo we lubirese tuleme kwogera bingi kati. Let's talk about women in a patriarchal society. This is Uganda is predominantly a patriarchal society. Not in Kampala maybe, but when you look at the outskirts where you are talking about Wogena Mbyaleyo, abasajja sibu basajja bibasalawo abachala. What are these challenges that these particular human rights defenders, the ladies, face in a patriarchal society like this one?
Yeah, I thank you so much, Edgar, and I've loved the fact that you have come from that other side of patriarchal society. Because then if you're to talk about issues of women human rights defenders, because they don't live in a vacuum for them but then they have societies where they live, and they are tackling issues, and then they have families where they are coming from. They are at their workplaces, just the women are, then it's very good that we begin it from that side of maybe first of all looking at women in patriarchal societies. So if you're to talk about, especially in Africa here, you can't divorce our cultures. It's very hard. I think something that I found to be so hard is for you to fight over culture issues, systems, structures. I think you can fight around other issues, but when it comes to culture is culture. I remember there was a controversial issue. I think you remember about it. Before late Muzata passed on, Wengeje attacking one of the ministers. But why? It's because yali ayingiride now yabuwangwa. And then Uganda one, and you're talking about issues as women and as married people. I think obo okuta waluma. Oshiraba. So
edda bagamba nti omwana omuwala bwafumbirwa n'ekitanda kye
bachifulumya ne bachyocha ukulaga nti
you don't have to come back.
Yeah, you're not supposed to come back. And I've loved what you talked about, Edgar. Te Kampala wano. Maybe it might not be too much, maybe because of so many people from wherever have come, and people are trying to learn other ways, maybe Western ways. But from my own experiences traversing some regions, you go to Western Nile, even you go to Acholi Lango, as in culture to them is culture. You go to Bugisu here, their culture is like everything they do is embedded within their what? Their culture. So even as we look at women human rights defenders, our problems, our challenges, the risks that we do face as human rights defenders, the threats that we face basically emanate from the patriarchal society. The imbalances, the power imbalances between men and women. The woman, the supremacy, because in our culture, we are taught that the man, Edgar here is a man, and Edgar here should be in the public sphere, talking about issues of public. Meanwhile, you as a woman, you're supposed to be mufumbiro. Ogugo is fumba. Dabiri la mwami akomewo, bobe zetoke. Ayogeda kugami enti chino. That is it. You're not supposed to go out there or level. So even as we talk about issues of human rights defenders, first of all, we have to evaluate and to look through our culture, our systems, even in Africa, but specifically in Uganda. Because in some cultures, a woman, you're a woman, and that is it, you're a woman. So you should not come up to talk about issues. You should stay, mufumbiro, talking about issues maybe abana, but not even in a home. Because I think Baganda here, you've already seen Baganda, basajja bakola chi? Basajjalata. Ya basajja basajjalata. So even in Kampala, but even in Kampala, they are men. I don't know to gambira no chi sajjalata izo kubononya. But essentially, even in Kampala here, there are people who have come to Kampala, but their culture ties are with them.
They are still in their subconscious.
Yeah, in their subconscious. Wali na yenga akantuke omusajja asajjalata. I think that's why you've seen even in Kampala here, oli nakuba mukazi we. Na msalako okutu. Why? It's because they are trained that way. Nto musajja, this is the role, because we were at school and they were talking about gender. The social constructs between women and men. The way you look at a woman, and then the way you look at what? The supremacy of men, and then the subordination of what?
And
of
even
women.
the way society handles women.
And even the way
different.
society, it's quite different. So I would say that challenges or the threats or the risks that come to human rights defenders, to women human rights defenders, basically emanate from that. But the patriarchal society. Because then if you're to look at human rights defenders, in most cases where I've been, they are called, it's very hard for communities or for society to call them even human rights defenders. In most cases they prefer calling them activists. You know, activists. They would prefer calling only political activists.
And they categorize all of them under
Yes.
political activists.
Yes, so they will always say political activists. But then if you analyze that activists, mu Luganda ojja kusanga nti wenachi nalukalala. Yes, nalukalala, nachemalidde. Yes, I know lugezigezi. Yes, I know lugezigezi.
Attachment of lugezigezi.
Yes.
Muntu aba mugezigezi. Literally smart. Yes.
Yeah, so it's very easy for society to call them activists. Ba nalukalala. And automatically, you know, so long as somebody acquisite nalukalala, kachoze, you're Prossy, you're the wife of somebody, but so long as you step into that arena of defending human rights, then of course nalukalala. And you know what that means? Essentially, they begin like discriminating against you. They defame you by giving you names, and that's what I've found out of the many engagements we've had at the coalition, the different stuff I've had. You'll find that in most cases, the women there, human rights defenders, they are discriminated. So genda muchalo, no labanga, oyo. So I went, I think I was in Albertine region, where they were telling me, like if at all they came out and omukazi, human rights defender, like imagine we are working within the same office with Edgar night, and I call a meeting, they will not come. Equally in Chigeza, I went and I was talking to some executive director. Actually, let me give you that scenario. I went to this year, I go to Chigezi, and then I find this woman. She's the executive director of an organization dealing with issues of Batwa community, and then minority group. And then it's like she's the executive director, right?
Yes.
Woman human rights defender at that level. But then there is a staff, a male staff, in the same organization. But by virtue of that guy being a man, it's like when they come to office, they will meet the executive director, but then they will prefer talking to the man. Than the executive. She's the ED. They go and talk to the man, because to them,
they feel a man will...
No, it should be the man. It should be the man. Yeah, the man should be the ED, not you, a woman. So she said something like, that is so challenging. Like, what are your stamina? Or issues with your what? With your staff. Yes. Because then she said, even time came, they address, like letters, as of executive director. They directed now and they know it should be this, the woman executive director, who should be tackling issues. So there is a way they discriminate. Society discriminates against women human rights defenders, but because of what is basically entrenched within the patriarchal society. So you find, first of all, they call them names, and that comes out vividly. They call them nalukalala, bajabaita. So they prefer calling those other names, bache, wagula. So they are discriminated against. But even some of them, they are abused. They are abused physically. They are sexually. They do. They do sexually abuse them. Like last time I went, I had a meeting. I was having a training with the lawyers. Maybe before I go into the sexual abuse, kind of. I met the lawyers. We were having a training, but for the lawyers with Uganda Law Society. And then this woman, human rights defender, comes up and she said, there are some cases. In most cases, Uganda Law Society, they have pro bono. They call it pro bono lawyers. Those that offer services to the very, very vulnerable people or the indigent. But then you pick up this case, you're a female lawyer defending rights of another people, but then this person says, there is that stereotype, like yes, like you can't defend me. I am a man, And for you, a woman human rights defender, and because you're a woman, you can't defend me enough, essentially. So those are the undertones. But even we've seen some of them being arrested. I think you've seen women human rights defenders arrested. And then they will not give a damn. They will manhandle you. Yes. And things like that. But because you're a woman. And in most cases they will say, Rachito Dayo. Rachito Dayo kole what you're supposed to do. Because you're a woman, you're supposed to be
Your
home.
office is the kitchen.
Yes. So you'll find that even some, not even maybe the powerful people or state actors or whichever, but you find that even your friends, by the way, you come up there and it will be the fellow women to discourage you.
Yeah, by the way, do you know it's mostly the fellow women?
Yes.
I don't know what's wrong, but it's mostly the fellow women who
Yes.
do that.
No,
And
I think women have a problem. When a woman sees you prospering in life, they're like, why is she prospering?
Well, I don't know, because they really...
And then they try to put you down.
Yes.
So that's the problem we have as women. I mean,
Yeah.
we fail to work together.
Yeah, that is something that, like, I interviewed Nancy Kalembe here, the presidential aspirant, and she was like, she went to look for votes, and it were the women who were really looking down at her, telling her,
Yes,
she received that from mostly women, and she was surprised.
Yeah, so they will not sit from that other perspective that, a woman has come up and she's talking
Let's
about
support
our
her.
issues. Let us support her. But then what you'll get is, even your friends, even Olimobichi, Olimobiachi, then they'll begin like judging you instead of Olieri, Katabana who is taking care of them. So essentially, Oliranga, so they are defamed, they are discriminated against. Then eventually, if they will end up, some of them are arrested.
Yes.
They are arrested, and you've seen the manner in which they manhandle.
Prossy, allow me to interject somewhere, and we have mostly looked at the external forces that really come and look at and hammer these girls and
The
these
human
ladies,
rights
the human
defenders.
rights female defenders. But have we looked through themselves? Like, and there are some human rights defenders who are overdoing it. Like, let's say, when they enter that, they forget about their families. They forget about the respect that you have to give to other people.
And the responsibilities
and the
they have.
responsibilities that you have. And some overdo it and maybe do it in a wrong way that may it really bring scrutiny to you.
Yeah, that's you have a point there. Of course, away from the external factors, you'll find that even human rights are defending. You keep on getting skills.
Yes.
You get it.
Day by day.
To me, like human rights defenders who have been able really to progress in their work. That is an analysis I made recently. Those are human rights defenders who have stopped the confrontation, and instead they are going for collaborative ways.
Yes.
You go to a community. Last time I went to Gulu and I met the executive director of Gwedji. Gwedji is into women empowerment, economic empowerment. They are doing great work in Gulu. It's a very big organization. But then what I picked from the executive director, who is a woman, is that then for her she's not confrontational. You realize, we have all these other factors, but then you collaborate. So for her, she's able to do her work. Actually, she was telling me that in case she's to go out there and maybe she's dealing with those people who have been trafficked and then they are back into community, especially in who are kidnapped and then were engaged in 2 wars and all that. She says she's in position to go with police officers. So they are just calls away. You call them and you're like, hey, we are here, this is what you are doing. And then you're able to do work. But even then, human rights defending work, and the skills and whatever, you as a person, you keep on growing. You keep on learning and unlearning. Where we are coming from a dilemma whereby human rights defenders believed in confrontation.
Yes.
Confrontation.
And when you confront,
yes, you confront. And let me give you a scenario. Like you saw what happened. Was that in where was the battle, kind of Luwuka somewhere? But then there is a line. There is like kind of a line. Human maybe read this side, and then the police officers this side. And then for you as a human rights defender, you are a journalist per se. And then you want, which side will you be at, Douglas?
That is a debate that we are always debating. Which side are you on, the police or the line?
Okay, to you as you, where would you be?
For me, definitely if I'm going to, in a Ugandan setting, I'm going to be on the right hand side. So that I get the shot of the police guys, because those guys are really brutal. So I would be on the right hand side.
Lilian, we need really to finalize that. Yeah. So then you realize that is where we are coming from. Yeah. Confrontation, a bit of it. We believed in confronting. We believed I have to be there at the front line and all that. But as time has gone on, and as the coalition comes into play, and then training these people, training them about security management, training them risk assessments, it's like we've given them skills in that you have to weigh. You have to weigh. Because now imagine, I have, to go back to what you're saying, you neglect your family, you neglect your children completely because you're out there defending rights. There is a human rights defender, I think you know her, who came up and then she put a lesu. I don't know whether you followed that story, you'll follow it up, the lesu campaign, and then you put a lesu down, and then you bring your baby and then place, you're demonstrating, but maybe in the middle of the road. And then you see the scorching sun and all that. But I was happy that human rights defenders came up and they are like, this is a human rights defender who is demonstrating. But then the other human rights defenders come up and then they condemn that. Okay. You're getting that what you're doing actually is wrong. Right. Yes. You're advocating for the rights of other people, but how about the rights of what? Of your baby. So even as we talk about it, would be so bad for me to talk about rights, maybe the right to education and all that. I'm a woman human rights defender, talking about the rights of maybe of the children, right to food, right to education. But then my children, I can't meet their education needs. Okay. I can't offer them decent meal because I'm into. I think it starts from it goes back to what I was telling you about prioritizing, and knowing who you are and what you want to be. Okay. Yes. So even as we point fingers, that's a critical thing. As we point out fingers, we are also internally pointing to ourselves and the way we do work.
Before Lilian brings in the questions she wanted to ask you, let me talk about the education system. Has it done enough in promoting, let's say, women human rights defenders, or has the education system really helped in achieving this goal of human rights defense, and specifically for the women? For the women, maybe going back to what we were talking about, the patriarchal system and all the culture. If you looked about women human rights defenders and then the patriarchal society, I would say, well, we've moved a step, but still issues do exist. Because injustices begin, even look at the education system. Yes.
Look at the education system. If a woman goes to that school, and I go with you, a man, the same school, let us talk about issues of pads. For you at school, and then for me, maybe I go into my periods unaware, and then the boys come up against me because of what they've seen. And why? It's because they've not sensitized the boys enough. And then you come up, I'm intimidated, I feel threatened, and then I drop off school. Has the education system done enough? No. Yes. Of course, we've moved a step, but we are not yet there. Because then if the education system is to do enough, then we should be tackling gender issues, the imbalances between boys and girls at that level. So that then we are able to raise up a generation that will know that, well, as I am a boy, she's a girl, but we are able to do things. All of us, we are able to do things. As a man, you can build a house. As a woman, I can. As a boy, you're able to speak about issues publicly. And as a woman, I can come up and talk about issues. So it begins from the education system. As early as nursery school. And they are changing the mindsets of young people. So that even as we grow up, the man will not expect me to sit home and talking about issues of maybe of Koza and Goyeze and what. So that if at all you married me and I'm into your home, you'll see me on TV. Today morning I'll be here talking about those issues. I was with you at night, but today morning I'm on radio talk show, and you'll not feel offended. But so long as we do not tackle those issues as early as nursery school, we are changing mindsets, we are changing attitudes. Situations still will remain. Because even at Makerere, they were talking about gender, but that is late. If you begin talking about gender issues, I'm already in Makerere, and you're talking about
nothing you can change.
Even our constructs, their constructs, I already have a mental mental thing built into my mind, and that's how I view women.
cannot
So you bring in the gender concept at Makerere level. It will be very hard for you to uproot what I know. So the education system, yes, should begin from nursery, and then they are telling you, you know, she's a woman, she's a girl.
But even you should start from the smallest unit of society, the family.
The family. Yes.
Because that is
very
the smallest unit.
Yes,
of society.
even at family.
This is where we get our virtues, everything.
Thank you. Yes, even at family level, the way the boys are nurtured, it's like the imbalance, the injustices.
That's where it starts. That is where it starts.
It's thank you so much.
Edgar, don't cook.
So cut, yes. Then you'll find
it's always my sisters.
It's always thank you. Yes. So it is always Lilian, you cook. Lilian, for you're not going to school today because your mother is sick.
Yes.
You're getting that.
Yeah, but
yes.
Edgar
Edgar is going to school. Edgar is trying to speak in public, but for you, you're submissive. Eh? So even in our home, you speak. If it's a village meeting, you go to the LOC level. You find these mindly men.
Yeah, by the way.
Have you seen women who are whatever? Yes, LOC. You've only seen one.
These days they've given them those
affirmative action and all that, but rarely. And in most cases, you'll find that maybe the LOC chairperson is a man, and then the vice down there is what? It's a woman. You get it? So education system, and I've loved what you've said, begins from home. But then even as early as primary school, and you're training about the dynamics, the different, you're tackling the social constructs in society. And I think time to come, maybe the Western world, all those other people, they are doing things in a better way, because for them they nurture their kids from down. Yes, they are telling the man, you can wash dishes, as this one is also reading. It's normal. So, well, the education system, maybe they've done something, but then we need to tackle the root causes. So that then, if I come out and I'm a woman human rights defender, I'm not seen as an activist, as an alukalala, as, you know, defaming you and giving you all those other funny names. So, well, there is something that has been done, but we have a long way to go. Yeah, breaking systems, and that's what I told you about tackling systems. Tackling culture, I think that is the hardest thing.
It's going to be a tough
nut to crack.
Yes.
And then also the other challenge I was telling you about the sexual abuse to human rights defenders. Before I forget that, the sexual abuse. There was one time I was meeting a certain human rights defender from another organization, and she told me something that I've kept on thinking about. She said they are into domestic violence, rights around that. And then she says, and they operate like a shelter for women that have run away from domestic violence. So she goes, and then this woman comes into their shelter. Then the husband to the woman decides to come. So the man would come and then go straight to the office. Of course, he knows that this is the office of this staff handling that case. So the man comes, she sits here, and the man sits there in that chair. And the man starts making advances towards this staff. You're getting, eh? Yes. Yeah, literally. So the man would do that oftenly. One day passes, he comes in your office, he doesn't say what, but then he sits there and then he's making sexual advances towards you. And then the following day still he comes up and then he's seated in the chair, like where Lilian is seated. And the staff is here. So he doesn't say what, but then he makes all those other things, you know, sexual advances towards. So sexual as a human rights defender. So she was telling me when she got tired and then she felt a little bit embarrassed, she decided to move out.
Is it the main reason as to why we have a few women human rights defenders?
Yeah, it's because of the social constructs in society. Because at the same time, if at all you'll call me Nalukalala, and if at all I'll be discriminated,
you will feel small.
Yes, your marriage is at risk. If you are not a hardcore, you'll just decide to pull out. You go into self-censorship. So you try to wear, and then you are like, and especially if you're not empowered, you'll give it up. And you'll say, oh, let me do what? Because you're fighting over strong forces. A lot of odds. Yes, everything is like against you. Yes. So we've seen some of the women human rights defenders go into self-censorship. They give it up, especially if they are not empowered. They give it up and they say, well, kanzireyo akatule. Yeah, because if that is what is causing problems between you and your husband, between you and your in-laws, but also within the community, so you just decide to give it up and then you do what? You back off. And we've seen many of them back off. Yeah, especially those that are not empowered. Like they are not empowered enough to stand, and that is what we are trying to do at the coalition. Equip them with skills. Yeah, because then you realize that human rights defending is it's like it has a passion into it. You're doing what you feel. You're addressing the injustices. So you feel, no, can't you get a call? So mpola. Today you tackle the issue of Lilian. The following day sangs the issue ya Sarah. The other day sangs the mwana leader who was dropped out. So eventually uchirimu wakati because of your passion. But then the risks, the challenges that come with it, in most cases, in case you're not really given the skills, you back off. You back off in most cases. And then as women human rights defenders, you realize that we don't have safety nets, or you call them networks in most cases. We do not have those other networks where we sit and then talk about our issues as what? As women. Because at times it feels good for you to sit and then you're discussing pertinent issues. Because then you find and you've talked about your issues, then you're devising strategies. So in order for us to tackle that issue as the coalition, there is what we call, we went on segmenting and we came up with thematic clusters. Okay. Thematic clusters. You group people into different clusters. So you come up with a women human rights defenders cluster, then you come up with journalists human rights defenders cluster, then the ethnic minority cluster, then you come up with the youth cluster. But why? It's because that is like a safety net, whereby these women, when they meet in their clusters, women human rights defenders, they are coming up with their issues, they discuss issues. Maybe Lilian, to go back to what you've discussed until you were good, but then within their cluster, for you, you're there to facilitate them, to make sure they come, and then they are discussing issues and then coming up with their solutions. So for you, then you come in to make sure that their solutions was facilitating us so that they materialize. And that is what we've done at the coalition. Coming up with the different clusters, you group them, and then they talk about their issues. To us, that is very critical, because different groups in society, even in Uganda here, they have different issues. Journalists have their own pertinent issues. Equally, the women have their own issues. Yeah.
Still on that issue of violation of human rights, when we look at the people that are violating human rights defenders, or women human rights defenders, those people are highly ranked. How have you helped these people to get justice? Yeah, the people that are being violated, the people that are being violated, and then the people that are violating. Yes. So
for the violators, of course, you can't say that violators only are state actors. But now if we talked about the patriarchal system, you'll find that the violators can be state actors, but at the same time, they can be state actors, especially from what? From the communities. So for us to tackle issues of violations, especially on human rights defenders, you have to look at it from two directions. First of all, to tackle the violators, and in there we've done so many things. There is the coalition, what we call dialogue meetings. Dialogue meetings. And in most cases, dialogue meetings, they bring together different people. You bring the human rights defenders. If it's the women, then you bring the women human rights defenders, but you're also bringing in if state actors, you bring them together. And then if they are community opinion leaders, you're also bringing them in the same hall, and then you're deliberating on issues. But at the same time, forging way forward. Because if the issue is harassment of women human rights defenders, so you bring in the violators, and then those whose rights are violated, and then they are talking about issues in a non-confrontational manner. So it's more like, this is what we've seen in Mbale. You know, women human rights defenders are intimidated. They are harassed. So you're bringing in the RDCs, you're bringing in maybe the men. You sample some men who are opinion leaders in their cultural leaders, and then you're bringing them in, and you're talking about what? About issues. So we are tackling issues at different ways is the same thing that I was telling you about the trainings to the police officers, because we've realized over time that police officers, in most cases, they are the front line of violating rights.
Yes.
So you're coming up with different engagements. You're strategically holding strategic engagements with them, meetings with them, to talk about those issues. But at the same time, you're training them to indicate it to them that, you know, these are the issues affecting us as human rights defenders. So what is your role? What is our role? But at the same time, even as earlier on indicated, the concept of human rights defenders is new to most people in Uganda here. So popularizing and telling them, you know, a human rights defender is this, is not a politician, is not your enemy, but they are also doing their work. But then to the other side of your question about what we do for human rights defenders, those that are violated. First of all, from where I started from, I was telling you about our 3 programs. In case a human rights defender is at risk or is embattled, they have an issue, maybe it's a journalist, then we come in with a protection and emergency support. At times maybe they require a lawyer, legal representation, maybe they require some monies for bond, for bail. So you, as the coalition, you come out to offer that. But then for some of them are traumatized, because what this work we do, even as I said, you're getting all these other threats, you're getting all these risks, you're discriminated, they are calling you names. So somehow, somewhere you end up being what? You're traumatized. So some of them you link them up to a psychologist to talk about those other issues, mental well-being. How is it? So that then they are able to get back to Mulamwa. Yes. But even at the coalition, of course, to deal with issues of those that are violated those rights, we do advocacy. We are talking about those other violations. We are talking, I think that's why I'm here today. Yes, sensitizing communities about those other constructs, the society norms that are limiting women. So we do different things basically, but also giving them soft skills that maybe even as you're online, you should make sure these are the things to put in place for you to stay secure. You should make sure that you weigh your risks before you go on that radio talk show, before you attack omunene mu government. You have to weigh. So you keep on giving them.
Before she leaves that particular point, can you please elaborate, give us more of the opportunities that these women human rights defenders have? Because those are some of the things you're doing, but are there some of other opportunities that they have, maybe to better themselves as human rights defenders, or to better themselves as individuals, as women, something that is for predominantly the women, those opportunities for the women? Do you have them at...
Those opportunities. First of all, we put there different avenues. First of all, I've told you about that other cluster for women. It's about enhancing their agendas as women, so that as they meet, they are able to talk about issues. They are able to talk about then come up with strategies to manage their issues. That is one of them. Safety net. It's an opportunity.
Okay.
Yes. Because now you can imagine if we are youth and then we are coming up and we are talking about issues, agali awamu. So jakwesa nganga noli omunafu nafe, awuliranga yes, aja kuchitegera nti, you know, I'm not alone. But then there is also a woman maybe in the north, there is a woman in the south. So you're giving them that other platform for them to meet and talk about their issues. But even then at the coalition, we've given them leadership opportunities. Because now we have what we call a technical thematic working group. That is like a cluster that brings together different people from different clusters I've talked about. So, but then the person leading the technical thematic working group is a woman. So even in these other big platforms, for example, commemoration of International Women Rights Day and all that, you're giving her that platform. You're helping her grow. Give her the platform. She's coming in to speak about to about 200 people, inclusive of men, but meeting also dignitaries, different dignitaries. So you're giving them opportunities.
Yes.
You're creating visibility. You're profiling what they do. Okay. You're getting. So there's a different what, but also maybe at international level, different forums. You're bringing them on board for them to talk. But even as you do that, you're helping them grow. You're hoping. So different opportunities do lie at the coalition, especially for women.
Bwetwogera ku nsonga y'abalwanirizi b'eddembe ly'obuntu ng'ate bakyala, bwetutunuulira state eyina measures zeetadde mu nkola oba ezo zeadoptinze bwe kituuka ku bantu bano abalwanirira eddembe ly'obuntu ate nga bakyala?
Nga bakyala, I would say first of all nga state we batunuulira human rights, I think there is a generalization. In most cases wekituuka ku issues of human rights defending or human rights issues, in most cases, if you're to, of course, if you looked at if you looked at human rights in general, there are some issues that the government has put there. Now they will talk about maybe maternal health. You've heard about that, geared towards the women basically, and then you've seen affirmative action geared towards promotion of rights of women. They've tried to come up with interventions to make sure that women are up there. Yeah. Yes. But then when it comes to me, if it comes to women human rights defenders, I think there is always a generalization. Yes. They have not put there like measures specifically that tackle issues of what? Of women human rights defenders. They generalize us in most cases. Bajagamba idembe ly'abantu, and it's like gumula all of you, without going into the other dynamics even within the human rights defending. Because all of us, we can be called human rights defenders, but then women human rights defenders have got their issues, and then the men have got their what? Their own issues. Maybe because of still the patriarchal society, because they know that these are the issues it should be men in them. And the women human rights defenders, maybe because it's just a new concept that is doing what? It's coming up here.
Twanja tutumye ku International Women's Day. Abakyala abamu tebagitegera bulungi. Njagala onnyonnyola omukyala ali eyo ng'alaba nti International Women's Day ekwata ku bakyala kikaaki.
First of all, International Women's Day. Eringa bona agamba nti yaffe ffenna. Okiraba? Sijagamba nti esosola, nti yo yabasoma, nti yabazungu. Tijagamba nti yo yaki abaloya. Waliwo abawala abato abali mu ssomero kati bagamba ffe tugwa mu ttuluba eryo oba ffe tuli out nti abakyala bokaboko babafumbo baba working class. I think it goes back to woman. Who is a woman? Lilian, who is a woman?
Lilian, abantu bakuulidde, you don't know what I'm
saying.
Simanyi mukyala yali. Nze kati njogera nga student atamanyi mukyala wawa.
So student.
Atandikira.
Do you want to tell me student abatamanyi mukyala kyeki? Omukyala kyeki? Douglas omukyala kyeki? Who's omukyala? But I think tubatuzeeyo ku sexuality. Right? Yeah, okay, mbadde ngenda nakuwemula. But omukyala ye mukyala. If we went back to sexuality issues.
Omukyala ye muwala.
Omuwala ayinza okubeera omukyala. Yeah, omuwala naye mukyala. It's just because
ngambye ekyomuwala nti bobanga oli okula bakuyita muwala tebakuyita mukyala. Kati wabagamba International Women's Day ffe tuba tulowooza nti boogera ku bakyala baba teboogera ku bawala. But in this case we are talking about women, and women is encompassing. If we went back and we are looking at issues of sexuality, ekikula doza kyebayita ekikula ky'omuntu mu Luganda, ekikula ky'omuntu. So for you, kasita obeera ng'olina oli ogwamu eryeko erya ekikula ky'omukazi, then ogwa mu women mu bakyala. But then they term that as International Women Defenders Day. Olunaku lwetujaguza ekikula kyaffe nga ki? Because during that day, to me it's very important, because then we are taking stock. First of all, nze lwaki olunaku lunsanyusa nnyo tutandikira ku basics of being recognized. Nti naffe bamanyi nti gyekwaki naffe gye tuli. It's just because still woddayo mu culture there is a way they sensationalize it. Abasajja ne bagamba olunaku lwaffe lwakufumba. Bagamba mwina lumu ezikadde zaabwe.
Mu lunaku lwaffe lwakufumba. Naye ekitegeeza it takes you back to patriarchal society. Nti omukazi oteekeddwa kuba ki? So luno lwe babawadde n'abasajja bakole ki? Nabo balufumbire muko, you know? Yes. So it seems so in Africa here terunaba nnyo kugaininga nnyo prominence away from okubeera nti maybe bajagamba nti olunaku lwaffe kati nzamu
Era
already
bagenda
excited.
kubuuza nti mu Uganda abakyala bategeera olunaku agalulimu.
Not really, ndowooza I would say nti ennaku zino ndowooza abantu bategeera nnyo Valentine's Day n'okusinga ki Women's Day ideally.
Valentine ya egatta wonna.
Egatta ndowooza kubanga egatta omwami n'omukyala. But now when it comes to Women's Day, n'okutunuulira where we are coming from, ndowooza you've seen it we bayise abakazi feminists because ndowooza you remember batandika nga bagamba ddembe ly'abakazi baagala abakazi batukole ki then batandikawo nga bagamba nende ise feminist abo banakyemalira because baze kumenya maka yes then they usete bafumbirwa bajja gamba ba women breakers yes batebawasa tebasobola kufumba you know things like that. So even International Women's Day still abantu bagirabira in that concept gundi nti bana balese babyogerako we are promoting foreign what values so even as you promote yes foreign values kati wano ndowooza in Uganda olunaku olwo terutekenze over mangu nnyo because of perceptions abantu ze batulina as women. So if you say International Women's Day then nga bagamba nti eddembe ly'abakazi lize baagala bakazi kubalemesa kukola mirimu gyawaka. But then to me as a person I think International Women's Day is very crucial. First of all because lutuyamba okujjukirawo wetukoze eki wetuvudde nti tutandise kato nga tuvudde wala it's like wadde kulwana away from mufumbiro away from yes away from obutasoma gwoli suppose kubeera you remember even way back nga bagamba omwana mutwala kusoma for what aina kufumba after all yes and that is why you see that in most cases where you're nurtured to be a woman kubeera mukazi kufumba so bajja kuyigiriza omukazi ayoza bwati engoye omukazi ofumba bwoti because those are your roles. So for me International Women's Day is very critical kubanga litujjukiza where we are coming from. We are taking stock of our achievements waje tuvudde the milestones yes twekuba mutoki kugamba this is where we've come from, these are our challenges wano wetuva tusenvudde kati wano wetukoze eki tuvudde wano kati so to me as we commemorate it's very important lutuyamba even for those women who are there nga tebalutwala nga kikulu nnyo to us it's very important because we are celebrating, we are commemorating but we are celebrating waje tuvudde wawe tutuuse but at the same time looking at the challenges tuli mu maaso.
Kubuzamu akabuzo kati minyongo okyali ku nsonga eyo olina omukyala ayina ena gw'otunulira n'omwegomba
where
mu Uganda yes omukyala ono bwe mutunulira ndabira ddala nga
kyekyo I think I have mu Uganda here I think I have to soka ye Miriam Matembe. I like her. I think I like her. Amanyi ayagala. Ate kati bw'osoma story ye olaba wajja avudde. Omanyi fighting against odds okumaking sure because kati ye tali mu mulembe gwaffe. It's like yewa tali mu gwaffe guno. Ali mu mulembe gwe. Ali gule gwabali. Yes, so kati guli gwali muzibu. Guli gwali muzibu kati saawa zino baleseewo eddembe ly'abaana okusoma pepepepe you know things like that. So it's like omwana wabeera omuwala ali waka nga togenze kusoma. Nowa police ayinza okujja ne bakukwata. Lwaki omwana takoze eki?
Tagenze kusoma.
But then way back no one I don't think anyone would come up agambe lwaki tewasasulidde mwana ki? Mwana. So kati lwaki I admire her like raising up from that. Naye ate n'obeera n'ofuna obuvumu nga you can talk about articulate issues ate n'olemerako ku nsonga yo ng'omukazi against all odds bano bakuvuma bano bakogeddeko bakuyisa activists nakyemalira but still you stand to that level. I think for me she deserves the honor and to me when mutunulira that's why buli meeting wendaba nga agenda kubeerawo njagala nnyo nkibeeremu
kati ku launch tosubwa tosubwa tiketi yo n'akatabu nze mbirenda
eyanziza
by the way tugenda omaliriza by the way tuweno wokubiri
of course mumanyi Karuhanga I also like her but because of her resilient resilient nature. There was a phenomenon what he has been through. You beat the odds. And you know, like earning that respect to that level. Ngoyogera.
It's a good thing. And it.
Yes, I came ngoyogera kumawulire ngobulira, you know, the race and all that.
Yes.
But I think to me, I would come up and say no to Jimuwe. Because she has built.
And I think she's going to win.
Yes,
That's what I'm
she has built that. She has earned it. So those are women I look at and I'm like, oh, okay. So she is a woman. As a woman, you can stand up against odds. Now we know where our guru is. Now abasajja nga no musajja na ita sola.
It's true. But I really wonder what is happening in the society right now. Most families are run by women.
They are.
I personally have been raised by a single mother, and she has raised 5 of us.
Definitely.
5 of you.
And very well, and all of us have been educated. We
Yes.
finished university. You know, something that you really look at and they're like, she's a lady and she has done it alone.
Yeah.
And there are many people with the same stories. Yes, many men, but
Babusudde. Because a single woman and raising up 5 children.
Yeah, that is.
Sounds like abakazi abankolera, those women. I look at them and I'm like, okay. Atenga siba mulembe gwafe, but to that level, and then you rise against odds. But then you stand. Yes, against odds, but then you rise up against him for the dust. Okay.
Women's Day too.
Yes, so as we commemorate the International Women's Day on 8th, I'm so excited in the talk share. Encouraged to talk about issues of women. But I am also a mother, and I like it when I see a woman up there. When you get them in the studio, Lilian, I was like, wow, that is very good. Because essentially you'd expect it, you know, Douglas, but for you to be in the studio and you're also talking, for me it makes sense to me. You said the only Bulunji na nange mpulira
no mchala yali ku camera.
No mchala yali camera.
Female driver. Naye tumuleta.
Naye mumuleta. So it gives it weight. So to the women and the girls out there, ekisokera ddala, seasons and times have changed. Tuli mu mulembe mulala nnyo, whereby what men can do, even the women can do it and do it better. Because I've seen women build houses. I've seen women raise their own children, especially Muguno Mulembe.
Even women managing companies.
Even women managing, yes, managing companies. But even women tubalabyeko oli taata we naafa. Naye naakola ki taata we naafa. Naasigala nga musika. And companies have grown beyond Murana, an example of Murana. So my message to the women out there, butenyoma. First of all, butenyoma. Naye kushitegeera nti if the men can do it, then naffe tusobolera ddala okukola ki. Omusajja abasobola okubeera ku radio talk show n'ayogera. Even you as a woman osobolera ddala okukola ki? Okubeerako. So tetwenyoma, tulina okuraising beyond odds. Kubanga in most cases bagamba nti omuwanguzi takola ki? Tawanika. So ebintu challenging bye bingi ng'abakazi. But then we have to think about them. We have to lay strategies so that we rise beyond the odds. Tuberenga ba Miriam Matembe, tuberenga ba Kadaga, because we can make better speakers. Yes, we can make better human rights defenders because we've been in that dream. Nganzo omuntu mbaddeyo and we've done it. So everyone can what? Can do it. And then to the rest of the communities, tuwagira abakazi. Those are the women in our lives. Nafa abachala benyini. Yes, nafa abachala benyini. Tulekera okunyoma bachala bannaffe n'okubassa n'okubogerako.
Ate kikwewuunyisa nti abachala banene abasinga okusiikuula fitina batera kubeera bakyala bannaffe.
Babeera bakyala bannaffe.
Oyo tafumbirwa takola ki, babeera bakyala, not men.
Yes. Ne bakuteekateeka mu biboozi byabwe, ne bakwogerera, ne bagira ki. So we pray nti Mukama atuyambe. For me, I do believe the world will be a better place for all of us.
Mwina package yonna ku Women's Day y'abakyala.
Tukyafumba. Olwairo lwakumeka? Lwakuna. Women's Day si Amande. Tufumba kati.
Nga tonagenda soko tuweyo ka fun fact about you because ndayo dakika tusigazaayo ndooza 5 mukaaga. Tuweyo ka fun fact about you. Biki byagala okukola mu biseera bye eby'eddembe. Tuwulire ko sagala
Okay. Ze ngomuntu. First of all, I like socializing. I'm a social person. I'm a social animal.
Socializing like party.
Social. I like parties. I like parties.
Outings.
I like outings. I can't say I'm up. I don't go to discos. I don't do that. I don't drink. But then I move out. So in my free times, most cases you will find me talking to somebody. That is me. I like mentoring, especially young women, but even the rest of the people. I find myself talking to them, I think that's why I'm called, and that's why I do what I do. I like talking to people.
So
Bivuga, yes. So that way where I can talk to a group of people. I like that.
Okay.
So I meet groups of people from A to B. So every now and then there is somebody I'm talking to, there is somebody I'm nurturing, and that is me. It makes me.
Okay, thank you so much. By the way, Lilian, tutugamba nga kubichibi onyumirwa.
So kachabena mulimo okulya emmere. Njagala nnyo music. I like
chikulembedde.
Appetite yange teri wansi. So
eri
wagguluko.
We've come to the end of this magnificent show. It was really, really an exciting and thrilling experience having you, Prossy Babirye, around. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Thank you
and
too.
Behold, we are here, Samawata Road, at the National Coalition for Human Rights Defenders Uganda. Kati mdoza ngati tunagenda kasoke mbajjukize nti olunaku lw'omwezi 26 March mwaka guno gwennyini tubuzayo nnaku bunaku. We are going to be launching the book of Justice George Wilson Kanyehamba on the 26th of March 2021 at Imperial Royal. Tickets za mitwalo 200,000 nekujirako akatabo ekyonaalya nekyonanyumya nakutobakayo bantu abajja tujjako guest speaker agenda kubeera PL Lumumba.
Confirm is the 25th.
Confirm is the agenda kubeerawo. Then tuna Jacob Olanya, Honorable Deputy Speaker, tuna Mama Mbabazi, tuna Miriam Matembe, tuna Dr. Lina Zedriga, tuna abantu bangi abagenda okubeerayo ku book launch n'ennaku z'omwezi abiri.
Right, Honorable John Patrick Amama.
Ali mbadde mwogeddeko ya Mama Mbabazi. Bonna bagenda kubeerayo bambi temusubwa ennaku z'omwezi 26 mitwalo 2 gokka mujja kuba mufuna the best experience that you can have. Mbadde n'abakyala 2 ahead of the Women's Day, and before you go, I don't think I'll see you again anytime soon, but allow me wish you a happy Women's Day.
Yeah, thank you.
And please do enjoy your Monday.
Thank you.
And Lilian, kwengenda bera nawe wano. Naye let me also wish you ekirabo tujja kulaba nga wakumetwange ne co-host tujja kulaba nja kufunirayo ekirabo ndowooza kyonna kyoyagala oba kaddina akanakukolera
Kajjamukolera.
Anyway, from the entire Mighty Drive team, please do join us tomorrow morning at exactly 7 a.m. as we bring you the people you always nominate for us, and we host for you. From the entire Mighty Drive team, my name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I was with Omumbenjja Lilian and Miss Babirye Prossy right here for the Mighty Drive. Tomorrow, same time, same station. Allow me say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor PL Lumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Imperial Royal Hotel. The ticket comes with a book, all this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digitalk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Have you read a book that makes you want to shout the title from a rooftop? If you haven't, then here is that book. The Evolution of Constitutional Law, Public Law and Government by retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba. Renowned Kenyan jurist and panelist Professor P.L. Olumumba and many other amazing speakers will grace the event. Do not miss the book launch on March 26, 2021, 2 p.m. at Imperial Royal Hotel. The ticket comes with a book, all this at just 200,000 shillings. Call 0702 9000 76 or 0783 04 7785 to get the book or follow up on the launch. This event is organized by Alternative Digitalk in partnership with retired Justice Professor George Wilson Kanyehamba.